Hello everyone and welcome to the stream. This is Otaku Showboat. Today is Sunday, August, 25th? 2019 already. Already close to September here. The final week of August! Oh boy. If you're watching the VOD on YouTube, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you are so inclined, head on over to twitch.tv/OtakuShowboat to leave a follow and turn on notifications to be reminded when I go live every Sunday through Friday from 10 a.m. to approximately 1 p.m. US Eastern Time. Hello, Pyanodon. Welcome to the stream today. Today's question of the day is, who's your favorite video game composer? For me, that would be Grant Kirkhope, composer of the Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie games, as well as, more recently, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle. So let me know in the comments or in the chat, who is your favorite video game composer today? How am I doing? I'm doing fine thus far. A little bit tired. I've been reading lately. Night before last, I started and finished reading Reincarnated as a Sword, Volume 3, which, as I've said before, you can pretty much make a determination as to whether or not you want to continue a light novel series based off of the first 3 volumes. And yes, I will absolutely be continuing Reincarnated as a Sword. This particular volume was a lot more focused on the story rather than on the sword protagonist and their physical development, so I was pretty happy to have a bit more story on this one. Yeah, things will be fine, Pyanodon. Things will be just fine going forward. Effectively, nothing really changes from what's been going on. So, I read through that, like, night before last, and then yesterday I read the entirety of No Game, No Life Volume 8, I think it's what it was, which had been sitting on my nightstand for a very long time, and I've finally now gotten around to fully reading it. It's very much a lot of, like, philosophy in this volume that you have to dig your way through, and even my brain wasn't fully comprehending it all that well, so it was a thing. I can say that much for certain. It was a thing. Yeah, that was a thing. And then going forward, I don't know what I'm going to read next. I'm still planning on reading the rest of Smartphone in Another World with my smartphone, but I'm holding off on buying the remaining volumes until my next statement cycle for my Amazon store card, which is unfortunately starting towards the end of this week. So I've sort of got this nice week-ish period of catch-up time where I can read through some of my backlog. I've got a lot of backlog. I think I'm going to be reading through Seirei Spirit Chronicles, volume 4, I think? Something like that. I have it on my Kindle, which I have right in front of me. What one is that again? What's the most recent one? 4. Yes, I need to read through 4 and 5, because I have both, and apparently 6 is either releasing or out, and 7 is coming, so yeah, that's a series that I need to catch up on at some point. May as well do it now. I've also got Tanya of Saga of Tanya the Evil. Wonderful. The most recent 2 volumes sitting on my nightstand next to me, as well as volume 11 of Log Horizon to get through, so lots of reading in my future. It takes me about 6.5 to 7 hours to read a single light novel volume, and I'm able to pretty much get through an entire standard volume if I start reading right after I eat dinner, from like 6:30 until I physically go to sleep. So, and that would generally be like 11-ish, the 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock hour. So, yeah, that's a big chunk of time per volume, but it works. It works. So today, I want to get lead boring done, as well as start working towards the drilling fluid too. That's what I want to start working towards today. Last time I set up additional stuff, lots of additional stuff. I set up additional copper boring. That was the main thing last time, and I set up bot-based copper processing through to grade 4 molten. There's additional processes beyond the grade 4 molten, but I need to actually finish this. That's one of the first things to do, is finish off hooking up some oxygen. Oh hey, how convenient there be oxygen here. I can use this. I can use this. Why do I not have... Bring me my gas vents. Why are gas vents only stack size 10? I need so many. Oh, I need so many. I also need to break these guys. And do the same thing. Oh. That's not gonna work. Power. Alright, that is... shall we say... that. For some reason today, in the Twitch chat pane, it isn't showing me users at all. The only thing I can see today on Twitch in the users in chat section is my Streamlabs bot as moderator. I apparently am not even in my own chat. Although I can type and it does the thing, I just can't see it for some reason today. It's really weird. Twitch has been weird lately. I'm also going to need more power today. So that will also be a thing. I am going to actually do this. This is my escape for the oxygen. Do I have... I do. That'll help. 132. Ha, dang internet. You're back! Welcome back! Welcome back. I was just saying how my Twitch chat today is misbehaving. The actual users in chat thing doesn't show up at all with any users. It just lists my Streamlabs bot as moderator and nothing else that seems to exist. Alright, how am I going to route this? That's a good question. Ooh, 3 ads in a row? Jeez. Always inconvenient, that. And I don't even have any control over it. Because I am not affiliate or partner or any of that nonsense. So I don't even see any of that income. I don't even see income. Period. Like, none. Okay, I guess it's here that I can start bringing up. Hello, Verzer. Yeah, the YouTube videos, VODs, are convenient folks who can't make the normal stream time. I know that I do stream at a time that's more convenient for Europe in particular. Speaking of convenience, there. There we go. They're moving! They're moving! Huzzah. So, time for more... I don't even need this. Why do I have this? Guess I just copy-pasted the things and... just forgot. So you should be moving. You are that. Oh, I know how you feel, Pyanodon, about having your computer be fully utilized, shall we say. Although I've actually been having some issues with my PC. I think it's starting to show its age at this point. Whenever I render the VODs, which you figure that's using up most to all the potential processing power on the processor to do rendering. How old is it? 2014, I think, 15, somewhere around there. So at least 4 or 5 on the processor. I honestly forget exactly how long ago on the processor side of things, but my point being, I can't actually render my VODs using 100% CPU power at this point because it actually is leading to glitches. So I've had my PC blue screen a couple of times. So at the moment, I actually have it set to render using only 50% of the CPU power, which is enough. It's low enough that it's not going to cause problems, as well as low enough that I can continue to do other things on my PC at the same time, including actually run Factorio, oddly enough. I can actually do that as well. Now, I also had to finish setting this business up. I needed to hook up the lube. Which is as simple as that, and the coal gas. Which is not gonna be so simple, is it? Oh joy. There we go. Huh. Jeez, even the video is stuttering for you. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. It's always problematic. Where are all of my loaders? Need him to finish these loaders, otherwise I'm just, yeah, filling a buffer here, and these are pointless. So that's done. I have declared that to be done. Now, as far as how much stuff I've placed, pretty sure I've placed enough stuff down to actually more than cover even both of these running at 100%. So I think we're good on copper for now. Still adapting to the inverted colors on the copper and the iron. Yeah. It's more realistic, though. It's more realistic having the copper be bluish and the iron be orangish. This is what copper is supposed, like, exposed copper. I should make that clear as well. This is what exposed copper and iron is supposed to look like. Only exposed do they look like this. If they haven't been exposed to oxygen for some amount of time, they don't necessarily look exactly like that. Yeah, because they're oxidized, or they've been influenced by oxygen. Redox reactions, that's what they are. So I think step 1 is power. Next. Hello, kitty. Step 2, actually, I noticed I don't have enough sulfuric acid coming into these, so I will need to set up... I guess while I'm here, do I have any of these? Yes, I do. You know, just while I'm here. Some, no, not that one. This one. One of those. Oh. Right. I'll use long-handeds, sure, why not? Because I'm going to do this with the pipe. Actually use long-handeds for once. Can you do that, please? Yes, you can. Do I really need to, though? Yeah, it saves on the iron. Times 5. Yeah, that's better. Nice, simple Crastario game. Yeah, I actually have started a Crastario game as well, just the other day. One thing about Crastario, though, is, honestly, I don't like the change made for making processing into plates slower in Crastario. So there is a setting that you can actually disable that, so I've just disabled it. Basically, it's like a 3-to-1 difference on the ore to plate output. So whereas in vanilla, you can set up a normal production line, get your 15 per second of ore in, and get 15 per second of plates out. Here, it's 15 per second of ore in, and a third of that in plates out. Which, by default, which sucks. And there are ways to improve it over time, but it just slows the early game down way too much for my liking. I I hate slowing down processes for the sake of slowing down processes. Please, no. No. I don't enjoy playing any mod that does that. Any mod that does that. It's a weakness of most mods. For some reason, people have this thing about the game being too slow or too fast for them in vanilla, and they want to slow it down. It's like, why? For what purpose? For what purpose are you going to slow down the progression in the early game? The early game is the weakest part of Factorio to begin with. Why do you want to make it even slower? That makes no sense to me whatsoever. So, yeah, that's a thing. Well, at least, Pyanodon, at least with this, there's stuff to do, right? The Pyanodon's suite is slow, but there are things to do. I did very much complain in the early game of this playthrough about having to wait around for resources. I don't think one should have to wait around for resources to continue playing the game. But, that being said, as there is a very specific point, I think, in the early game where it does get a lot better. There's just a lot more to do. Yeah, like, I don't like C-Block because it's very, very slow. At all times, actually. It's just incredibly slow at all times. Well, correction. You can speed C-Block up if you know what you're doing, and you do very specific transitions to make more stuff faster as soon as you get the ability to make more stuff faster. But you actually you have to already know what to do, right? And if you're just trying to stick with how you initially make stuff from the early game for too long, it just bloats everything and bloats the amount of time. I play C-Block on at least 200%. My computer can generally handle 200% fine. It can even handle 300% generally in the early game. But anything beyond that, not really. It will get capped at some point. I do also tend to use Universal Quick Start. It's a series of 2 separate mods at this point. One that gives you resources, and another that actually gives you equipment, like whatever armor you want and whatever you want in the armor and stuff like that. Even then, I have had games that I've started on Pyanodons that I have discontinued. Partly because I would give myself robots, and I think robots are boring. Robots are just that little bit boring. Also, why are you not wired? Because that wires. Yeah, you shouldn't have to feel the need to keep things running 24/7 to get anywhere in progression. That shouldn't be a thing at all. Yeah, nanobots help. That is obvious. Nanobots help. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention this. I usually talk about changes to, like, updates in the GitHub stuff. And it just crossed my mind looking at these. So, yeah, Pyanodon, you changed the animation speed of stuff to not be locked to production speed, which means they're going to be operating no matter what the power is, right? Is that how I'm interpreting that? Is you've set it to do the animation regardless of whether or not the machine is operating at 100% or 50% or whatever, based off of the amount of electricity it currently has, and you sort of sped up across the board a lot of animations. Yeah, mid-game is post-circuit too. I would imagine. Well, the thing is, the animations are supposed to get weird and slow down with lack of power. That's how you're supposed to be able to tell visually that you don't have enough power. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, it's supposed to slow down for you to be able to tell that you don't have enough power on things. I get the slowdown off of the productivity modules. Yeah, it shouldn't really slow down the animation speed with productivity modules. If only Factorio would have a way of making it slow down only on electricity and not on crafting speed reductions from productivity modules, that would be ideal. For most people, Circuit 2 is, like, beyond the end game because they quit as soon as they even remotely think about Circuit 1s, let alone Circuit 2s. Alright, I need more. I need more. More of this. Actually, I think it's about time I set up something better than this. Legasp! He actually said the magic words. Something better than this. How would I approach making something better than that? Well, first off, I would approach it by using Mark II stuff where I can. I would also want to make it powered by solar. And it would need to be tileable. Yeah, the mushrooms are a little... They're moving a little fast. That is a little fast. At least the animation stops when it's full on its internal buffer. Let's see. I will need definitely some more Mark... Oh, I don't need those. Or those on me. Definitely some Mark II electrolyzers would be good to have. Mark II gasifiers. Wait, what? Sigh. Give me these. By the way, Pyanodon, where are our Mark 2, 3, and 4 screeners? And pans, and cyclones, and gas processing units. Hey, it's GPUs. Where are our Mark 2, 3, and 4 versions of like the secondary crushers? Specifically, I don't really care about the mines or the pressure pumps or anything else. I'm caring about the stuff that you're using in mining chains, ore processing chains. All the stuff that gets used in the ore processing chains that don't currently have Mark 2, 3, and 4s will come after Pi Alien Life. Yeah, well, I figured. Because I would like to have Mark 2, 3, 4, like, mixers. And, definitely automated screeners. Because you need so many automated screeners compared to the Mark 2, 3, and 4 of, like, the jaw crushers. And everything like that. Like, in particular, automated screeners are, like, the #1 thing that they get used the most often in the various chains and they don't have Mark 2, 3, or 4 versions. Like, they're here, a lot of them in tin, with secondary crushers. Those don't have upgrades to them, so you'll always need a lot of them, compared to a lot of the other stuff that does have Mark 2, 3, and 4 versions. Then looks like this zinc processing, this phase of zinc processing, it's all gotten the Mark 2, 3, 4 stuff. That's tin again. Here we've got hydrocyclones that don't have increased mark levels, and pans. Ooh, that's nearly mined out. Once I start boring molybdenite or molybdenum, things will be good. I can start using that for other things as well. Anyway, I was looking for stuff and things. I'll take the DDCs. Do I have any of these handy? No. Where's my stuff hidden? My hidden circuit 2s. Where are my hidden circuit 2s? Wait, you exist. Give me. Hidden circuit 2s. Where would you be? Here. Make me these guys, please. Oh. You're filling with stuff. I broke it. I actually need a stack inserter there. For now, though, because I don't have any. I'll just help this out. I think my stack inserters are, of course, being limited just by my circuit 2s. So I went from being limited in my production on circuit 1s to now being limited to circuit 2s. For some strange reason. Gee, I wonder why. It's not like I'm trying to make hundreds of efficiency modules all at the same time. Yeah, let's do that. Actually, make the efficiency modules, please. You. Inductor 2s, which I think is being limited by ferrite. What is going on with this ferrite? It's just my iron. Ferrite. What? No, it's the nichrome, that's what it is. But what is with the nichrome? Why is it not moving? Oh, I know. I'm limited on syngas, actually. That's a thing, but so lots of like stuff on my to-do list. Hey, actually power. Hey, that's convenient. That's done. That's done. I wanted this and this at some point. How many solar panels do I have hanging around? Enough? Well, I mean, Pyanodon, I think you only really need the mark levels if you have Rot Wars installed. I think that's the point. That is the point. Wow, 34.5 megawatts of power off of solar as it stands. Interesting. Yes, the clinking sound is the aluminium tile sound. Thanks, Pyanodon, for the annoying tink 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 as you run on aluminium tile. Anyhoozle, let's design something out here. I think I have everything that I need for this. So, there are options. I could do something similar to this, just in a different way. Oh right, I didn't actually grab turbines or powerhouses. Your head is overheated? Yeah. That will happen. I highly suggest what is it really used for. To help with that. Let's see, I need to probably dump those so that I can grab powerhouses. I want to use Mark II powerhouses. That's the other thing for this. And I don't know if I want to go the route of Well, how would that look? Actually. Um, 100 times 700. I know I can do it with the drill fluid, but I'm trying to think of what is the most, like, net positive energy-wise. Like, yes, I could do it with my drill fluid, but the drill fluid process is a lot of energy to begin with. I'm trying to get something that's net positive, energy-wise. So, yeah, just saying 70 megawatts. No, that's a 1 point. Hmm. So, here's what my thought process here is. I already have setups to make aromatics and syngas. If I can convert that to crude oil and use oil burners to burn the crude oil, that might actually be an incredibly efficient process. Do I know why? Pyanodons. That's that's exclusively a Pyanodons thing. It's done that for an incredibly long time on this particular playthrough. Um, it just dips. I think it has something to do with object culling and just the size of the sprites that's trying to load. It just hiccups on certain things, certain like particle effects maybe. Oh, right. Pyanodon also. You noted the Thalgi animation was fast. Relesia also fast. Bit too fast. Let's see, this is also limited by lubricant again. Interesting. Thing is, Verzer, Pyanodon has already nerfed crude oil. It used to be a full megawatt of power per unit. It is now 700 kilowatts per unit, as well as fuel oil can be converted into 1.5. Now, my issue with the fuel value at 1.5 is it does take energy to convert crude to fuel oil, and it's a 2-to-1 ratio of crude to fuel oil. So you only net 100 kilowatt gain. You only get 100 kilowatt gain minus the power it took to run the DDC. So I honestly don't think it's really worth doing that. And I think that even at 700 kilowatts, it's still better to burn crude in an oil burner than it is to make fuel oil and make power out of combustion mixture based off of fuel oil in a Mark II combustion turbine, using Mark II combustion turbines. Even with the increased efficiency, I still think it might be better to just straight up burn the crude in regular steam engines. And Pyanodon, you've said that the point of the burners was that they could do 4 steam turbines, right? Well, there's still only 2. They're still about the same as a regular boiler. But just the way that the mechanics are working thus far, like how they're spreading stuff out here, it's still better than even the Mark II combustion mixture stuff. It's like, really? Yeah, you can't change it. I figured as much. If you're trying to use the boiler mechanics, you... I don't know if you could even attempt to get away with it by not using the boiler mechanics. Like, do recipe picking, but even then, probably not. Like, if an assembler could have negative power generation, or negative energy consumption on a factory when it's operating by pulling in whatever fluid you want it to pull in. Something along those lines. If that was possible, that would be one way to do it. But that's a little bit hacky. Anyway, I was out here because I was looking for my oil burners, for one. So, lots of ways of producing energy. Clearly. Why... Eve again? Also, yeah, I don't need that many, thanks. That's what's consuming a lot of resources. Really? You there. Yeah, I'll take that. That seems handy. Yeah, and give me these. So it was methanol reactors, right? That was the, crude from aromatics and syngas. Oh, you can also make plastic. That's also handy for plastic. Very handy for plastic. So, as I had said, I have setups to do aromatics and coal gas. Coal gas can go into syngas rather easily. I can also... Oh, I know. Ooh. Now there's an idea. Yeah, because I'll also end up with hydrogen that I can burn. Oh, Pyanodon, here's the thing about fuel rods. Are they actually called fuel? Yes. See, this recipe exists. And is net positive over coke. In terms of fuel value. Yeah, it's some Nexlet, yeah, it's some niobium, but if you can get both of those infinitely, I mean... Yeah, I would need to do the math on how much power it takes to get the niobium and the Nexlet and the coke together. How much time into this playthrough? It's right here in the top left corner. 100 and... Okay, that sneeze passed. It's right up here. 176, almost 177 hours. It's the only reason why I keep that up there, is to be able to tell how much time has passed. And sadly, the version of the clock mod that I'm using, I can't update my clock mod anymore because there was a change in the code between the version that I'm using, which is like point 03. It's now like 0.07. Because you can't load saves on the older version anymore. So there was some major change in the code, and it just won't load saves made on the older version. So I have to complete this playthrough, and when I decide to do my update to the clock mod, I won't be able to play any of the older saves that I have that was done in the 0.03 version of the clock mod. You're 17 hours into a playthrough of the Pi mods. What is the tips? It depends on where you're at 17 hours. I'm assuming you're probably around Circuit 1 / trying to figure out green science. I'm assuming that you've probably finished automating red science at this point. Yes, you're manually making green. Figured as much. I would personally... Well, it depends. You have an option of automating your circuits first, or automating green science and then doing circuits immediately afterwards while you're researching green science techs. The way I did circuits first, which is a big chain to get through. It sort of starts all the way down with this clay and the kickoff line. So think here to here is circuits. And then from Relesia up to here is green science. If I was going to redo the green science, I would have done it with the automated factories rather than assembling machine ones, but I'd say at this point, green science is somewhat simple to set up compared to what's coming. Somewhat simple. Just make enough stuff to get it moving. Like, that's like the biggest advice, is don't try to make things at ratio at the start. You pretty much should ignore ratios at the start. If anything, just do one of each building type that you know you need, and go from there. Start making not zero amounts of stuff until you get to your end product, and then just go backwards and start scaling more from there. So anyway, I'm also going to need some of these guys. I am going to need those. That's for certain. And Relesia. So my plan on power is, honestly, it's basically this. It's basically this, but instead of processing syngas at this phase, it will continue and it will convert the syngas into aromatics. I will use extra Faugi and add some Relesia to create aromatics, so that the aromatics and the gas, the syngas from the gasifiers, can be made into crude oil that will be burned in oil burners. That's one way of doing it. And then the hydrogen can continue being processed as normal. there's also something maybe to be said about burning the aromatics here directly instead of... I don't know, I would have to do the math. I don't know if that's even worth doing. Hell, the fuel value on syngas itself is 400 kilojoules, so how much gets produced out of here? 100 per second. That's 40 megawatts. $400 by 100 divide by 1,000. 400 by 100 divide by 1,000 is 40. Yes, I can't get the Mark II Logi bots because the Mark II logistic bots require super steel, and super steel, while I could make the super steel, the molten super steel is requiring vanadium, which, I mean, I have everything else, or have the ability to make everything else. It's just the vanadium. This is easy. Why have I not done this? Like, I have the ability to make the crystallographic substrate to do the particle accelerator vanadium recipe, and it converts chromium. And I have what I need for the proton donor as well. Or receiver, I should say. I could just do this and have the vanadium. I could make super steel at any point. But I want to scale my iron with additional ground board iron before doing that. Like, I want additional iron, or maybe even also additional iron processing steps to make better use of my iron before relying on that. Yeah, so syngas is... like, how much power, really, are these powerhouses giving me for my 100 per second of syngas? Well, they're giving me 150 per second of combustion mixture at 600 C. Now, here's the problem with the temperature here. I'm not even making proper... like, this blueprint doesn't even make proper use of the temperature of this 600 C combustion mixture, because when it mixes, it uses the lowest value. No, it's averaging the values, so it's 560 C that goes into here. Approximately 560 C that goes into these. So it's 56% of the output that you get out of this. So 150 at 560 C. These use 60, yeah? So that's 2.5. 56.1 times 2.5 times 0.56. That's 78.54. That's 78.54 megawatts being produced out of these three in the current setup. It would be more if it wasn't mixing the combustion mixture. But it's also consuming 3 per second of coke, and coke has a 5 megajoule fuel value. And of course, joules per second is watts. So if we're consuming 3 coke per second, we have to reduce that. And then again, also, you're not even supposed to be doing coke the way that this is set up. And I'll just ignore what gets burned here as well. Oh, Todor, the relationship is a pure percentage. Because the maximum temperature is 1000 C, it just ends up being a percentage on the output. So if you're sending in 560 C, you're getting 56% performance of your maximum power output. That is the simplest way of looking at it. So if you're getting 800 C combustion mixture, you're getting 80% of the maximum output of the turbine. The efficiency rating of the turbine itself only really affects its maximum power output. The game sort of does that math for you. As far as I'm concerned, the efficiency rating, it only comes into play when comparing turbines, not anything else, really. It gets too complicated. Just know that better is better. Clearly, better is better. So, what am I really going to do here? Just trying to think about oh yeah, and then of course there is the option of converting oxygen into refined syngas through the power of coal bed gas. That was another thing. Do I just leave this as is? I don't like its... well, it's self-perpetuating itself with stuff here. I mean, I understand why they're doing the DDC process. It's to get the coal gas, but that's an inherently inefficient process of getting coke. Is there a better way of using oxygen? Because ultimately, this whole gasifier process here of making syngas and burning syngas is to have something to do with your oxygen. The there are more efficient ways of converting coal into coke to feed powerhouses than this. But this is the best way of getting coal gas. One of the best ways of getting coal gas. It just comes down to how does the math actually work out. Well, either way, this can be scaled differently, even if I keep the same concept in mind. This can get scaled differently when upgrading mark levels. So I will head on over, grab some Mark II turbines, Mark II cooling towers, Mark II powerhouses. Huh. You want to go keep trying? Yeah, keep going. Keep going. The main thing about Pyanodons is that you have to keep going step by step. It will be quite slow, but there will always be something to do. Once you get past that, like, burner phase early game, and especially once you get to the point where you are able to make enough iron, like, that's the biggest early game struggle in this mod set, is getting enough iron. Like, straight up, that is the #1 early game bottleneck, is having enough iron to build the buildings that you need. Like, I was never struggling for copper in the early game. My struggle was iron. As soon as you hit green science and can start doing molten iron, like the moment you get access to molten iron, actually, I would say, like, the moment you get access to molten iron from processed iron, do that to get more iron plates to help your progression. And definitely as soon as you get to the, like, true green science molten iron chains, definitely do that. Definitely do your unslimed iron processing here, this process. Because iron's a big bottleneck. Chromium is sort of a bottleneck as well. Niobium is a bottleneck. And needs to be set up relatively early to continue. In fact, you need niobium for the hydrocyclones or something. One of these things. You need niobium for something in this process of making unslimed iron. Okay, I was going to grab stuff from up here. So, early game, I would say focus on securing enough iron to fuel the buildings that you need, to have enough resources for your buildings, as, like, one of the initial major steps. What was this again that I just grabbed? Oh. Here I am confusing the icons of the quenching tower and the powerhouse. Don't mind me while I do exactly that. Ah yes, aluminium. That will also be a bit of an issue. Aluminium can be another one of those things that bottlenecks you. Specifically, the duralumin, I think, is another major bottleneck. It's like, you really have to go for that molten aluminium and copper duralumin recipe to kill that bottleneck as quickly as you can. Berzer, that is exactly what I did. After setting up my green science, I literally went ore by ore and did the ore processing recipes for all of it before even attempting to really move on and start making full use of it and start working on Circuit 2s. Oh right, I'm not actually doing anything with this tar either. Oh right. Also, you are not supposed to be that. You're supposed to be these. So tar. There's actually a very important thing that can be done with tar. Tar here. If I add, I can convert it directly into crude. I can do the creosote to aromatics and burn the aromatics. I could... Really? Wait, what? I mean, yeah, it's 1,000 tar per second, but... that footprint isn't that bad. He found it, yes. Correction, I've seen this recipe several times, but I'm now just realizing the implications of this recipe. Because every time I've seen this recipe before, it's like, oh, that's a lot of tar. But I'm also thinking, oh, that's not a lot of tar. Like... because I can make a lot of tar. It's a really big footprint, though. It's a really big footprint, though, to do this much tar. To do one building making vanadium oxide. It's really easy, though. It's a lot of Falgi plantations, though. It would be... I think I can do it in 3. 3 times 160 Falgi plantations converted into coal. These. Game. Work with me. These. 3 of these. Setups. I would also have a lot of coal gas. Like this times 3 for enough tar to fuel that, and then it's a matter of making the silver zinc plates. What about stone to tar? Yes, there is stone to tar. I think of it more as iron to tar rather than stone to tar. So that is another option. Because you can sand extract stone using iron. There's a recipe for coal from Faugi. Yes, there is. It's right here, high pressure furnace. I forget what science it is though. Thing is, I need vanadium like now because I can use the vanadium for super steel. And actually, there is something to be said about doing iron to stone to tar to vanadium to super steel. It's like you're using iron to make super steel. You're just using more iron to make your super steel at that point. Anyhoozle. Let's do this but better. This but better. Actually, how about this but a lot better? Like, permanent better. Let's do, yeah. So remember what I said about the whole 160 Faugi plantations, right? You all remember that? That I just mentioned? Well, what orientation do I want? Probably here, and I'll build further out. Yeah, that's that. This is 4 full throughput yellow belts. 4 full throughput yellow belts out. Of coal. 4 coal. Let's ignore the fact that I just do not have the efficiency modules for this at the moment. And that for some reason this only has 1 on the blueprint rather than 2, but anyway. Wait, how are you not powered? What? That's simple enough. So I think I mentioned something about this being like 20-ish megawatts with all the efficiency modules in it. What is it without? That's 200 by 160. That's 32 megs. Alright. Yeah, I am using deep water wells just for my own convenience. I mean, look at where I'm placing this. Like, access to water is not a problem for me. It's just easier on the piping. Just let my nanobots do some work here. No, it's not part of Pyanodons in and of itself. Neither are these loaders, by the way. Oh, speaking of nanobots, my guys need to do some work for me. Speaking of guys doing work for me. Yeah, this is my internal power network. Oh, hello, dudes. Oh, thank you for these. Please actually place them and not, oh, god dang it. Why do you have to be there? Go there. Yeah. Ugh. Dang it. there. For reference, I'm trying to have the roboports such that they can be chain placed by the construction bots. Even if I'm not carrying them myself. It looks like this one is also outside. One tile! One whole tile outside of where it needs to be. I guess I can just put that there anyway. Oh, and then you're within. Good. I'll just have to remember to update my blueprint with this. So, that'll be 4 yellow belts of coal. I did mention how there was a much, much more efficient method of converting coal into coke, and that is this right here. This right here. However, note that there are some inefficiencies. So I am making syngas here that is going onto my network. I'm not doing anything with this syngas. Nor am I sending... Oh, right. So, yeah, this is syngas from the coal dust that comes out of this. That does open up opportunity to burn syngas for power. I can use the coal dust and use that for power by doing this. This exact setup. Do I just copy paste this? Screw it. I'm just gonna copy and paste this whole thing. Stick that as a blueprint. It needs some modifications, though. Don't get me wrong. It needs more modifications for purpose. But it does give something to do to the coal dust that you end up with. Also, I probably don't have enough high-pressure furnace 2s. This is going to be a more longer-term project. Building up my superpower setup here that I can just... Like, ideally, this will end up being something that I can just copy and paste over and over again. I don't like not seeing the edge of this blueprint to know whether or not we're good. Do I want it to be this long? I guess we'll build upwards, I suppose, from here, or down in here. I'll leave all the pipe stuff for now and figure things out later. Don't need any of this, though. I do have a, this line of coal dust, because I am using the coal dust for something or other. Besides converting into syngas. Also, these are Mark 1 gasifiers. You can be Mark 2s. Sure, why not? Also, yeah, about the power situation. See, I have nowhere near enough solar panels placed for this to last through the night. At least not enough accumulators to accumulate enough power for it to last throughout the night. We're asking for over 30 megawatts at the moment to last throughout the night, and that is not gonna happen. However, if I do something like this, alright, that will be very nice. That'll be better. I have the next lit accumulators for this. Hello, dudes, bringing me things. Speaking of which... Like, speaking of bringing me things... Right, I still don't have... I should have the spare sticks. There we go. More nanobots! Give me more nanobots. Oh, I guess I already technically do have repair packs also being made at the moment, but... Definitely have the circuit boards to feed this. In fact, where are my sticks? I should have sticks. Come on, guys. Sticks. Yeah, sticks. I knew I had sticks. Oh boy. Like, give me my nanobots, please. Yes, bring the sticks. You know, I think... So you know how I was standing out here? Well, the nanobots normally are all the way down here. Available on the network, along with the repair packs. Here's the issue. My logistic bots went here, grabbed it, and I was here, so what is the route that they would take to try to get to me? This way. So, point being, they would try to go from... They would be able to make it up to here. But then, from here to here, they can't do that trip. So, unfortunately, what they would do while trying to follow me around is go up until they needed to recharge, and then they would go back to they would go to the closest charging station when they needed to recharge, which is back the way they came. And then they'd go up and back, up and back, up and back, and they would be stuck in that loop. Until I move over, in which case, now I should start having those robots be unstuck because they're trying to follow me to deliver the nanobots that I am requesting. Speaking of nanobots, there we go. Bunches more. They will, however, be very slow. They will be very slow. Oh, right. This will break. If I don't do... this. Yeah. I think this is the setup that I am preferring now on the burners. Essentially, they are sets of 3, where the middle one is exclusively used for burning ash. And I'm preferring that across the board. Oh hey, we have enough sulfuric now. Huzzah. We've actually got enough of the sulfuric going. Yeah, I figured as much. Oh boy. Even with all of these, still, it's not enough? Alright, well then. There's a little bit of a gap there, interesting. Well, let's just keep on keeping on, building all the things. Let's see, how many left? 25. Oh, I need I need another... Oh, the row is there, it's just not built. I don't have my medium poles. Enough medium poles. And there we go. Constructo bots will have to finish this. How's my coffee doing? I'm almost out of coffee. Let's see, this is another how many? 384 by however much a solar panel is. 60, I think. Up to. $384 by 60. 23-ish peak megawatts. Combined with this addition, I think that would be enough. Especially as we get additional modules sent in. Over time, it should be okay. I am also filling the warehouse here, clearly. Let's see, let's place you there. You there. With power. You there. With power. Not going to use that. As I said, this does need adjustments to it. I also don't need this. This is a just a line of coke that was going to the north on my copy paste. Alright, that is, as they say, that. Also, all of this like, iron piping is not very nice. Let's do an upgrade planner and tell it to do iron. Yeah. Just like so. Across the board. That changes all the ghosts. So that when my nanobots, when I get my nanobots again, it'll just function. It'll be great. It's always great when things just function. Right, kitty? Things are always great when they work. So that's the initial steps here. I have clearly gone far and away from the original plan for today, which was to do lead boring. Clearly, far, far away from that. Hey, it's actually charging the accumulators now. But is that even enough? Yeah, there's stuff that isn't apparently hooked up. There. But how quickly are they charging is the question. It's like, do I have enough to fully charge these in a day? Enough solar panels to fully charge them is the question. And then 66 megawatts. What's the formula again for the amount of accumulator charge you need to last through the night for a given megawatt? I've completely forgotten. That math is difficult to do as well because the power sort of dips and then goes back up on the solar panels, so trying to get something accurate is a lot more difficult than getting a an estimate. I haven't even hooked up any of this onto the power yet. Should I? Well, if I want nanobots to actually, you know, work, I will, or if I want my robots to actually start really building any of this, I will need to provide the power to it. To all of it. Go, go, nanobots, do your thing. Cool. So that'll get built eventually, right? And hey, I'll have the equivalent of 4 yellow belts of Coke. 4 yellow belts of Coke. Now, again, I need to note that it's not my intention to use the robots to move stuff around with this setup. In fact, that would be a terrible idea because the whole point is to get as much energy created as possible, and robots simply consume energy, so this is one of those times where it is better to use the belt than it is to use the robots. So once I get these 4 belts of coke, I then need to think about, well, now how am I going to use this coke to do things? How am I going to even use this coke? That is a really, really good question that I do not currently know the answer to. And also, speaking of clearly, I clearly need more power. Much more power. Using solar to power my power. Yes, solar shall power the power. Can't really move that. Water. Right. Not holding on to any of those anymore. Give me that. I'm gonna put it there. What are these pipes? I don't think I even need these pipes. I think these are pipes that were oxygen and molten copper. That's what these were. So they're not needed. Robots are doing stuff anyway. They're placing the things. Any reason for all that power? Yes. Yes. So, thing is that I need as much power as I can get for various processes. Because right now the base is operating at in the 700 megawatts. This production bar is not accurate. My max possible production is currently like low to mid 800 megawatts. It's like 850-ish is where it peaks. So I am close to needing more power, therefore I may as well make significantly more power, or have the ability to make significantly more power, because robots consume a lot of energy in their operations, and stuff at this level of scale isn't exactly cheap on power. And then there will be processes that I will be doing that will need and involve the use of tholins and tholin plants, and these are also very power-hungry processes. I was actually giving a think about the acetylene again, and I might actually be reversing my opinion on the acetylene. I might think about doing it the standard way out of coke. So, my argument for using tholin-based acetylene is that it is more energy efficient when looking at how much fuel value of coke that you lose in the normal acetylene process compared to the amount of power that is drawn through the tholin-based acetylene process. So the amount of coke and power consumed in the buildings to make acetylene using calcium carbide versus the amount of total power consumed in the Tholen-based acetylene favors the Tholen-based acetylene, even though it's more raw power. The amount of fuel value of coke that you consume is a higher amount of total energy used in that process. However, what I was not considering was, well, what about the power used in making the coke? Like, what is the true fuel value of the coke, in effect? And comparing that to power. And is it actually still okay to use the coke for the acetylene? Because you can also consider it as sparing yourself space. Because space is another... is your currency here, so... it's water and space are the two... ultimately the two currencies that you use in all of the production of everything in Pyanodons. Everything goes back to water and space, including power, which power is just space, the amount of space that you're consuming. The only exception is rare earth processing. Like, rare earth processing is the only exception to this, where you do actually need rare earth bolides to get your rare earth ore, to do the rare earth processing. Everything else ultimately comes down to water and space. So, trying to think about it in terms of, well, with water being infinite, it just comes down to space. So in terms of overall footprint, which is higher, the power production to feed the Tholen-based acetylene or the calcium carbide-based acetylene? Like, which would be the bigger footprint or which would be the smaller footprint? And does that even matter in the long run? Whether or not one is more efficient than the other. Just interesting things to think about. On a map that is basically infinite in size, that is effectively infinite in size, does that even matter which process that you use to get your acetylene? So many things to think about. Alright, the water is good. Wait. Really? Why do I have this set up this way? This is a closed loop, right? No. This is not a closed loop, that's why. Yeah, that's why. You need... you end up needing steam here, so that's why I had these. You input steam, and you input a little water. But you also get an output of steam. You get half as much steam from these quenching towers, so this isn't a closed loop in actuality. Which just serves to complicate things, so that's why I'm like voiding the extra water out of this. converting the steam into water and then voiding it. Thinking that if you really wanted to dive deep, I could calculate how many watts you would produce per tile in your power generation. That's only if I wanted to conserve space. And I'm not... I mean, I think it's pretty obvious overall that I'm not really particularly concerned about how much space things use. If I really wanted to do that, I would. So this can, like, operate, right? It's missing... what? These are ghosts? Or are they? Oh, they're missing water. That's what they're missing. That's what you're missing. This barely consumes any amounts of water, so... this is simple. There you go. Have your water. Oh, and that's the other thing is, do I even produce enough steam for this? I have 9 of these. 600 per second on steam. That's 10 boilers. I do not have enough boilers making steam. Oh, that's inconvenient. That's inconvenient, shall we say, to say the least. Screw it. I'll use the ones that I have. Power. Water. There they go. So that is 10 each. Each boiler produces 60 units of steam per second. And consumes 60 water per second. So this is consuming 600 units of water per second as well. But it's still enough for one pump to work just fine. And we are officially backed up, which is great. We are backing up. We've got our 4 lines of coke, as well as this going into syngas. Do you remember what I had said about the syngas? Only how many of these are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Really? That would probably explain why I'm not quite getting the 4 full throughput coke belts out in the other location. So what's the issue here? The issue is this is a little bit more than a yellow belt. This is a bit more than a yellow belt on its output. Just a bit more than a yellow belt. Fortunately, each of these is 15 per second, and in fact... This is what I'm gonna do. When in doubt, loaders. Loader it up. 2 is 8. Yes, that's fine. That is fine. So I just need to note it's 22, I think is what it said. 24. So 24 coal dust. What's the fuel value on that again? 3 megajoules. I mean, there's not a lot you can do with coal dust. Well, you can make briquettes with bones and heavy oil. Or glycerol, creosote, and tar. That might be a thing. Do I have the... I do. Here's my issue with the coal briquette. Oh, that's 100 per second. My issue is that you're burning up, or you're killing the full fuel value of a coal briquette, which a coal briquette has, like, insane high fuel value. I don't know if it's even worth using your coal briquettes that way. To get the highest temperature of combustion mixture. It's a thought to do that. Coal briquettes. What are all of the recipes here? They're all coal dust. I mean, that would be something to do here. I'd rather, though, keep a process that is, like, self-contained. So unless I have a way of getting the tar, or the glycerol here's the problematic one, because Mark IV is for Tholins, and that's power, lots of power, lots of power. Yeah, there's not really a good way of doing this in a self-contained manner to use this coal dust. Could make ash, but that's not power. Yeah, so the only real way of doing this in a self-contained way is to do syngas out of this coal dust, which at 3 megajoules per coal dust, and it being 30 into 70 units. 30 into 70 units per second. That's 90 megajoules or per second, or potentially 90 megawatts. Let's think of this way. This is 90 megawatts of power to make 70 units of syngas per second, in which syngas has a fuel value of 400 kilojoules. And we already know that more than 70 syngas gets used here in this process and produces a lot less than that overall. A lot less than 90. So, actually, it is more efficient not to make syngas out of this, which this whole block here is all about the syngas. I don't actually need to power any of that. right now. It is more efficient to do traditional steam engines out of this. So the coal dust will get burned in traditional steam engines through boilers, regular old boilers. 90 per, no, not 90. It's 24 per second. So 24 by 3 is 7. Oh, that's convenient. That's actually highly convenient. So red belt. I'm going to need red belt. I need the red belt. Just like I will need... I'll need 80 steam engines. And 40 boilers. They're gonna send me 90. But, oh, no, they're gonna send me exactly however many I need. So, what's convenient about 72 as a magic number for the megawatts, or not the megawatts, but actually, yes, it's the megawatts. 72 happens to be exactly-ish how much power you get out of 2 lines of boilers being fed by 2 pumps. Yeah, I think that's right. It's 900 by 80, yeah. So 72 is exactly the amount to feed 40 boilers into 80 steam turbines. That's like one of the most common things in the base game in vanilla that you think about when you're making your power is how many boilers does a offshore pump feed? Well, it feeds 20. And with belts having 2 lanes, generally, what I do anyway, is I set up boilers like autosave 178 hours. I set up like this, and then I have the 2 steam engines coming top and bottom. The sets have a gap of 1 with a pipe between to add a little bit of spacing for stuff. I cannot draw. With space for the poles in between. So this, and that gets fed by 2 lines of water, and it equals exactly 72 megawatts. So that's convenient. Speaking of convenience, bring me the stack of boilers. Bring me those boilers. Boilers! Thank you for boilers. I need at least 2 more before I run away. Thank you. I can't believe that this is like the most efficient way of using the coal dust. Like, seriously? Like, really now? So it's like, what's even the point of having all of these solar panels anymore? Oh boy. Is 6.3 gigajoules enough to power the whole thing through the night? I don't know. I do not know. Oh right, red belt. No matter. Won't matter in the end. However, before I set this up, I do need to take a brief break as we are in the last hour of the stream. I don't think I can really make it to the end, so I will be back in a few minutes and set all of this up. I will be back soon. And I have returned. It's loud! Yes, the music would probably be quite loud compared to the volume of the game that I normally run with and my voice normally on the output. It shouldn't like be incredibly high. Like I have the volume set to like 30% on the output on my system. Like the media player volume is 30% on that, and if it's loud at 30%, oh gosh, that wouldn't be very nice. That would be strange, actually, that it would be that loud. Alright, how am I going to orient this? Yes, compared to the voice. Yeah. However, I will note that, oddly enough, it's technically the same. It's like within about 1 or 2 decibels between the voice and the output on that music that I play during the break, which is from Factorio. For reference, that is Factorio soundtrack. Well, it's the game audio from the music in the game files, but yeah, anyway. Get rid of that. I don't need that. How am I going to orient? Yeah. Boilers. Pipe. I don't even know if I'm going to come from this direction or if I'm going to swing all the way around. I'll probably swing all the way around, now that I think about it. And this all needs to be red belt, for reference. Twitch, if it's red belt. Oh, that's good. I might think about undergrounds, but whatever. Once I put the belt down like so, I can do just a regular upgrade planner. To be like, hey, please upgrade this to reds. Then reverse, and just like that. Oops. Right. Missed a space. There we go. Standard old boiler line. My main question is, do I use this power to supplement... Ooh. Right. That would be another issue entirely, wouldn't it? So what happens if I'm not actually consuming the full 72 megawatts out of this? It backs up on coal dust. What happens if I back up on coal dust? Well, then I'm not producing as much coke. Does that matter? Only if I am using the power that is produced here internally. What do I mean by that? Well, I mean that if everything that I do in this setup is designed to produce power for the main base, it is okay to have this be backed up, because I know that if I am fully consuming the full 4 belts of coke to do power, if that's actually operating at 100% capacity, or needs to operate at 100% capacity, chances are, if this 72 is also on the main part of the network, that it would also be being consumed fully as well. So it scales up fine. It won't matter about a little bit being backed up. But if this is only being used internally, well, that limits the rate in which the coke can output if I'm not using the full 72 megawatts internally. Which would be a problem. So, what are the solutions? There should be solutions to the problem, right? Yeah, it's not have it hooked up internally. That's the solution. Which means... I need wires. Give me wires. I need to disconnect there. And then the really sucky part. The really sucky part. Boom. Which is manually rewiring. I could do circuit magic, but I don't like relying on circuit magic. I don't want to be forced to rely on a circuit condition. I see circuits as the occasional necessary crutch, but a crutch nonetheless. They should be used for convenience on things that are overly complicated, and I don't consider separating a network like doing this to be overly complicated. Like, I would use circuit networks when barreling fluids. That is a good time to use circuit networks. When developing, when producing barrels for your barrel network, fluid barreling network. That is a very valid means. Wait a minute. The ooh. That works. That works. Yeah, you have to pay attention. But I mean, you should be paying attention, right? Like you should be paying attention. Yeah, so I think I have enough solar panels here to make this last through the night. It's even charging early in the morning fully and then dropping down to 40. So yeah, I think we're good. Looks like I need one more thingy there. Need one more over here. Right. There. Then I need the water for the bottom line. Oh, goodness gracious. Sure, right there. What makes this convenient, though, is it gives me easier access to the main network. I was going to have to do this anyway, right? It was something that needed to be done anyway. Now to consume 4 yellow belts of coke. To do things. What things are we going to do with this coke? Well... this is not a particularly good recipe. Huh. I haven't really given too much thought about the concept of coke fluidization because it consumes copper. Alright, well, it looks like I'll just be using this coke in the regular recipes here. Unless I want to make fuel rods out of it or something, I don't know. But the regular recipes, what would be the best? What would be the best here? Well, let's think about hydrogen for now and then go from there. Speaking of which, you hydrogen. 4,000 units per second of hydrogen. Actually, this is... I shouldn't be thinking in terms of 60 per second because this uses fuel as well. So it would be more like that 25 or yeah, whatever, 3,333. Alright, well, just for point of reference, 3 grand of hydrogen is 40 Mark II electrolyzers. I did mention that this would be a big setup, right? I did mention that we were going to be making a lot of power, right? Out of this. Ooh. 1 for every 3. Hmm. And that's not considering the oxygen whatsoever. And then coal bed gas fuel value was nerfed as well. So that might now consume more power than it produces, converting oxygen into coal bed gas. I don't know. Don't know. What I do know is that I will need a lot of Mark II electrolyzers if I don't use speed modules, which that kills the point of it. 180 kilowatts per electrolyzer by 40, let's say. Let's just say that we'll do 3,000 rather than 333 in 20-ish of these powerhouses. So, what would such a setup look like? Oh, that is a really good question. So... Yeah, it looks like I'm gonna do water every 10. Where is this going to exist? Is the next point to make. Probably down here. How do you get 4 inventory bars? In settings, interface, active quick bars. This setting right here. This right here. You can change it from 1 up to 4. It is part of the base game in version 17. How close do I want to get on that side? I don't know. Let's get the piping all done. All done and dusted. I should request these deep water wells. There we go. Let's actually do this copy paste. And then do the deep water well at the front. So, 4 of these, huh? Wait, is that too much? Yeah, that's too much hydrogen. On a single line. I can split it. Ugh. Yeah, I may as well just do this normal. Do it normal. That could have been 1 tile higher. Alright. This is what I'm gonna live with. As well as you there. and there. And just by very nature, this has to be internally powered. I think this gets all of it, actually. Anyway, that, as they say, is that. I then need to do something to the oxygen. Bring me all of the gas vents. Joy. So, 750 per second of oxygen. Could be converted to coal gas. Could be converted to refined syngas if I chose to spend filtration media on it, which is zinc, which is not something I'm particularly comfortable with doing at the moment. It is something that could be done for even more supplemental power. But for now, let me figure out what to do with the oxygen. Hello, dudes. My minions! They're coming! When I said everything was water and space, I meant no mining. I mean that in the very literal sense. You don't need to mine any singular resource in the game outside of rare earth. That is the only thing in the entire Pyanodon's mod set that needs to be gotten from a resource node. Iron and copper and zinc and aluminium and chromium and nickel and molybdenum, and titanium and lead and all of that, all of the standard resources, even oil, even tar, even sulfur, all have ways of getting them out of, essentially, water, power, and space. That is what I'm doing right here with copper at the moment. Ground boring is what is the answer to that. So ground boring essentially lets you convert a form of lubricant and a form of gas into whatever ore type you want, for the exception of rare earth for some reason. So C block with pi, yeah, it's basically pi block, which there is pi block that does exist for reference. And it adds a way of getting rare earth out of a special chain of chemicals. But yeah, you can play Pyanodons as a C block game without the C part of it. Basically infinite map size space without having to worry about resources at all. And that is what I have been doing lately. That has been the theme, and will be the theme going forward. I am, of course, using a mod that I have created called Pi Borer Reversion, that changes a recent modification that Pyanodon implemented in the drill boring recipes to require drilling fluid 1, 2, or 3. Under normal circumstances, iron would require drilling fluid 1, as would lead and titanium. They would require drilling fluid 1. I forget what else requires drilling fluid 1 normally. I think borax. Borax is the fourth one there. Chromium, aluminium, and I think nexalite and nickel and zinc all require drilling fluid 2, and then niobium and molybdenum require drilling fluid 3. Drilling fluid, note, drilling fluid 1 requires copper. I specifically made the point to Pyanodon because when he first made the changes, copper used drilling fluid 1. When all of this began, drilling fluid 1 required titanium ore in its recipe. Okay? So at first, this required titanium ore, which I was like, oh, but titanium uses drilling fluid 2, so you would drill titanium to get fluid 1. It didn't make sense. So we changed it to copper ore. To copper ore. So now it uses copper ore for drilling fluid 1. But then I made the point, well, copper ore uses drilling fluid 1 to ground bore. So if you want to scale up, basically, you only end up with a tiny amount extra for every setup you make of drilling fluid 1 by ground boring copper. So the amount of space required to do the drilling fluid 1 ended up being significantly larger than the drilling fluid 2 and the 3. So my suggestion was, okay, make copper use lubricant so that you can have a reason to scale your lubricant production to fuel the copper ore for your drilling fluid 1, and then drilling fluid 1, let's change titanium and lead to use drilling fluid 1 instead of 2 because they already use the rather expensive acetylene now to ground bore. So instead of fluid 2, they now use fluid 1, and lead in particular is needed for silver. Silver is used in the ethylene glycol chain at the very beginning of the ethylene glycol chain, which is used in drilling fluid 2. So now you have drilling fluid 1 being used for lead, for silver, for drilling fluid 2, as well as 3, because the ethylene glycol is used in both recipes. So now you have 1 needing lubricant being used in 2 and 3. And then 2, well, 2 is used for chromium. So chromium is then used as an ingredient in 3. So drilling fluid 3 requires fluid 2 and fluid 1 and lubricant. Progression! It's a logical progression that actually does make some degree of sense. So you can progress, you can make lubricant to make copper to make fluid 1. You can use your fluid 1 to get lead, to get silver, to get fluid 2. And you can use your fluid 2 to get chromium, to get fluid 3. Done. It wasn't like that originally, but that's what made sense in my mind. It's a lot to take in, yes, but when it's explained as lubricant to fluid 1 to fluid 2 to fluid 3, like, that is the logic that all of those steps represent. So it's using lubricant to get fluid 1, using fluid 1 to get fluid 2, and using fluid 2 to get fluid 3. In fact, using fluid 1 to get 2 and 3, but whatever. But yeah, it's a nice progression at that point. It's a very nice dynamic progression as well, because if you want fluid 3, if you want more fluid 3, you have to scale up lubricant 1 and 2 as well, because they end up potentially being ingredients for each other. This is, of course, assuming that you're not introducing anything not renewable going into this system. That's just completely out of renewables, that progression. You can easily just do standard mining and get silver for your fluid 2s, and you can just as easy do standard mining to get your copper ore for... Even I'm getting confused now. This is iron. To get your copper ore here, to get your copper ore, to get your fluid 1. But this is just a progression that I had suggested, a progression path that I had suggested, because this is a process that would make sense in the absence of the not renewable ores around you, which is the basis of C-block style games as well. So it makes... I'm sure it will make life a little bit easier on King Arthur, who's doing high block, which I'm hoping that he'll get around to actually working on again after finishing up the rewrite he's working on of Pike Hole Touched by an Angel. So this is still working. I have a whole bunch of dudes that continue to be broken, trying to cross the gap. Eventually this will do its thing. I've got plenty of that. I've got my gas vents now. So after all of that discussion, it seems like basically every single stream I do discuss this at this point. So those folks who are like watching and listening along should definitely know at this point all about ground boring and how all of that should theoretically work. Because I've just repeated it so many times, but you know what? That's how people learn, is through this type of repetition. Alright, that is how many? 20? Ah, that's a full throughput. Yeah, that's enough. That's enough. So, now to muck about with the hydrogen in our little thingies here. I'll need even more water. Oh, don't you worry. I'll need even more water. So, hydrogen. Let's see. 24, huh? How about sets of, well, how do I have this set up? I have this in 4, so what's 24 over 4? 5? No, 6. 6! 6. That is... Six by 4 is 24, so... Every 4... Every 4 will get Oh, I need more. Must have more. More stuff. I'll do this down here. Yeah, more stuff. And power. Whoops, one tile too far. Good. That should work. That should work just fine. So, 10... 750. Alright, I'm trying to split 3,000. $750, so 6. Alright. So 4 of these. Do I want to keep them blocked, like, yeah, as blocks, or... Or do it, like, down here. Actually, I think it might be best to do this all in line. Of course, it would be far more ideal if I had the space. Need more landfill. Where's my car? Way over there. Of course it is. Of course it is. On a hike. We're on a hike. I'm not carrying a car around, am I? Nope. Of course not. I can't make a car, can I? Nope. No engines on me. Oh yeah, ducts are a thing that I've added. Should I use these at some point? I should. So ducts apparently are supposed to be the equivalent of 4 regular pipes in terms of throughput. We shall see if that's truth. If that's like actual truth. Whoa, I am apparently carrying around 8 of these guys. Oh yeah, and then drilling fluid requires a, like, absolute metric F-ton of guar. Guar gum. Oddly enough, fluid 1 requires twice as much guar gum as fluid 2 and 3 for the equivalent production. So you also need to consider guar gum plantations and everything involved in that. So it's not like it's cheap. in the amount of space that it takes to do the guar, or to do drilling fluids. It's not cheap for drilling fluid. It is an incredibly expensive space and power process to make your drilling fluids, which is, I guess, the point. It needs to be. It really does need to be. You need to have some expenditure of some description if you want to get something quite literally out of nothing. And, yeah, the answer is space, and, in my opinion, as it stands, it is currently a reasonable amount of space that, is required. Boink. I do hope this spacing works out. I very much hope that this spacing works out and all the pipes work and everything just, you know, works. It would be so nice if everything were to just work. Oh, and then I also need to get the coke in. Oh, right. 4. 4? 4. That's convenience. Oops. Don't need it. Don't need these terminal undergrounds. Yes. This is fine. Oh, that's not fine, though. Yep. That's not fine, though. There we go. So then it's that. But there. Oh. Oh. Alright. Difference. Ever so slight different. Oh. How to clear a contaminated pipe. Car? Oh. Right, get out before you get trapped. Oh, it's so unfortunate that I won't have the time to actually finish this today. Highly unfortunate. Really? Like, could you please clean the stuff? How is there non-zero? Just trying to avoid this, but eh. There. There we go. And I've previously... Oh, goodness. Yeah, the water's gonna be a pain in the rear. But regardless, I think that this will mark the end. What got done today? Well, I had wanted to do lead boring and start working on the drilling fluid 2 today. That's what I had really wanted to do. But because I saw that we needed more power, today became a day about getting significantly more power than one of these thingies can bring. Significantly more power through the power of Foul Yi. Through the power of mushrooms! Through the extreme and incredible power of mushrooms. Processing into coke. As well as the power of electrolysis into hydrogen and oxygen. Not currently doing anything with the oxygen, cough cough. Wheeze, wheeze. But anyway. So that's that. That is what I'm doing. I just need to finish, like, have to route the stuff. Probably need some more landfill on the other side so I can properly fit the water in. But I have to bring the coke down, probably have a line here, lines here. I'll figure out something on how I'm actually going to feed these with proper amounts of coke. We shall see. Because I've also got to, like, move this over a bit because we've got the outputs of the steam as well as the combustion mixture. I have to get the combustion mixture routed to turbines. I have to get the steam routed to cooling towers to feed the water back in, because these things giving water is not going to last forever. It's just going to end up in several closed loops, actually, since there's 24 of these. 8,000 per second. Oh, joy. So, yeah. It's almost like each set of 6 is a, Oh. Here I am setting up things of 6, and it's too much water for a pipe. Anyway, all these things I'll be figuring out in our next stream, which will be tomorrow. I would like to thank you all for watching. This has been Otaku Showboat. If you're watching the VOD on YouTube, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you are so inclined, head on over to twitch.tv/Otaku Showboat to leave a follow and to turn on notifications to be reminded when I go live, Sundays through Fridays, from 10 a.m. to approximately 1 p.m. U.S. Eastern Time. I hope to see you all on the next one, and don't forget to answer the question of the day of who is your favorite video game composer down in the comments below.